Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we turn our attention back to the race for mayor. With primary day less than 5 months away, candidates are looking to stand out from a crowded field. And that includes my next guest, who is a political newcomer. Whitney Tilson is a former hedge fund manager. He's also a philanthropist and a major Democratic donor. He promises to tackle the city's affordability crisis, cut crime in half, and end street homelessness. He joins me now to talk more about his campaign. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you are not a career politician. You've been around politics, including as a donor, but you've never run for office before. What made you decide to jump in now?
Well, it was actually after the election, and I was, as a lifetime Democrat and someone who strongly supported Democrats up and down the ticket this election and for the past 20 years, I was horrified when Donald Trump 90% of counties shifted toward him in the last election. And I think we Democrats have to look in a mirror. I certainly did, and said, why did this happen? And I don't think it's because they like him. I think it's because they look at Democratic one-party cities and states like New York City at the top of the list and saying Democrats doing a lousy job managing that city and the places they control. And I think the average American said, if that's what you're offering, I'll hold my nose and vote the other way. And we better fix that if we're going to succeed as a party.
So let's talk about your plans to fix it and your campaign. There are at least 6 other serious candidates running against Mayor Adams in the Democratic primary. How do you distinguish yourself from the rest of the field? Sure.
Well, very simply, I'm the only one who's not a career politician. I'm the only one with a business background. And I look at how the career politicians are running this city. And I don't like what I see, and New Yorkers don't like what they see. Just ask anyone if they think the city's heading in the right direction, and they'll tell you, heck no. And they're looking for change. And I looked at the field and said, there's no change candidate in the race. So I'm going to get in and offer that to an alternative to New York voters.
And in terms of policy, I mean, there's so many different issues we could talk about. Just to pick one, talk about policing.
Sure.
I mentioned the promise to cut crime in half. How would you go about doing that? I mean, what might you do differently than what the current mayor is doing on policing?
Yeah, well, keep in mind, we had become one of the safest large cities in America as recently as 5 years ago. Since then, the 7 major felonies, contrary to what Mayor Adams is out there saying, are up 52%. Felony assaults on the subway are up 150% in the last 5 years. So to some extent, this is not some pie in the sky cutting crime dramatically. It's just getting back to where we were 5 years ago. I think it's a combination of a couple things. We need to invest certainly more in the communities where most of the crime is occurring. The city government is failing those communities in so many ways, so it's broader than just law enforcement. But we're at a 34-year low in the number of police officers in this city. We need at least 10% more just to be staffed to where we were 5 years ago when crime was a lot lower. And also, there are a number of pieces of legislation that I was actually involved with fighting for, like bail reform, that went too far and need to be reformed because it's created a revolving door for criminals.
Right. I mean, when I hear you talk, and I've heard and read about your platform, it seems to me, I mean, we always like to put labels on politicians, progressive, moderate. It seems to me like you are further to the right, or at least to the center, than your opponents, except for maybe Mayor Adams. It seems like maybe your politics align with him more than any of the rest.
Yeah, I think that's true if you were to just look on the policy basis. I'm a centrist, pro-business, law and order Democrat. It's bizarre. It shows how far my party has gone, that people think that's unusual. I've always been the same for 20 years. It's my party, particularly in this city, that's gone far left. The problem with Mayor Adams isn't so much the policy, though I have some disagreements there, but we're both sort of in the center lane. It's that he's corrupt and incompetent. And, he was one of the people I listed, and I had high hopes for him in the last election. And what an incredible disappointment he's been.
You are a former hedge fund manager. As far as I can tell, you're probably the wealthiest candidate in the field. And I wonder, if that's a knock on you, because that doesn't always play well with Democratic primary voters. The idea that maybe you're not in touch with the working class voters in the city.
Well, I may have the appearance of being a billionaire like Michael Bloomberg and the baggage that comes with that, but I'm not. So maybe that's the worst of both worlds. But I've done well in the business world. I've built 6 small businesses here in the city. And I think one of the most important things we need to do is totally change the business environment. I think it's an embarrassment that when CNBC ranked all 50 states on business friendliness, New York State came in dead last. The first most important thing we need to do in the city is grow our economy, create a lot of jobs, rising wages. That then addresses affordability, crime, et cetera.
And you have raised a significant amount of money in this race. But to be clear, you're not self-funding, right? You're participating in the city's program, which includes receiving matching funds from city taxpayers. You think you'll be able to hit that mark where you can actually get matching funds, which would put you into the millions of dollars.
Yeah, the way that it's a wonderful program, I don't think I would have entered the race were there not this. I think it's a good government program. And because nobody is self-funding in the race, we're all taking the matching money, which means nobody is allowed to spend more than $7.9 million in the primary. So I know that nobody's going to outspend me. And so I think that it creates a level playing field where may the best candidate win, not the best fundraiser win.
You mentioned Mayor Adams. What's your assessment generally of the mayor and of his recent sort of embrace of Donald Trump, which of course, you know, the conventional wisdom has it that he might be angling for a pardon from Trump.
Well, I guess I don't blame him if I were looking at going to prison, that is his first priority, when, of course, his job, his first priority should be serving New Yorkers. So he's running down to Mar-a-Lago and D.C. to bend the knee to Trump. And I don't see how that benefits New Yorkers. So my already low opinion of him has gone lower. And
former Governor Andrew Cuomo, I've also mentioned, because he is not a candidate as of yet in the mayor's race, but you know, he seems to be seriously considering it. There have been polls out there that show him leading the field were he to run. What do you think about Andrew Cuomo candidacy?
Well, just on name recognition, I've seen the same polls you have. He would be the favorite out of the box. He would also be, I think, more in the centrist lane, along with Mayor Adams and me. And I entered the race with the rumor that he was going to run. And that's still 2 months, 3 months later, that's still the case. I guess I believe the rumors and assume he will be entering the race. And I guess I welcome it, and it doesn't change my message at all, which is, yeah, he's a career politician too, and I'll still be the only person in the race who's not a career politician with a business background, whether he enters or not.
I mean, I guess it sounds like part of your argument is sort of Bloombergian, right? That we need somebody with a business background to manage the city, not somebody who's been a politician their whole career.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the 12 years he was mayor and the 11 years since he's been mayor, I think you ask most New Yorkers on things like crime, the economy, schools, the numbers don't lie. The city was doing a lot better in those 12 years when you had someone who wasn't beholden to the system, wasn't a career politician, didn't need the job, and was just managing the city with rationality and a business managerial orientation, as opposed to yet another career politician.
All right. Whitney Tilson, thank you so much for coming in and spending some time with us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. It is time now for a break. Coming up, I will talk more about the race for mayor and the week's other top political stories in our weekly Friday Reporters Roundtable. Stay with us.